Hi, First Family Church. This is Pastor CJ with Grace of the Lord Church Plant out here in Aurora, Colorado. I thought I'd take a minute to share some of the victories that God is having through our ministry. As our church is approaching 2 years old, this year 2020 has given us opportunities that we never dreamed of having. Aurora, Colorado is already a place with a lot of poverty, addiction, and spiritual depravity, which always creates a lot of opportunities for us to provide care and to witness the lost getting saved. This year, there was a real nasty bug going around. You might have heard about it. I don't know. But it's opened up the doors for us to provide care in our city like never before. For example, people have opened up their minds to receiving the hope that we have to offer in meaningful ways, and it's been considerable and regular. Government institutions have given us an open invitation to say and do whatever we want as we've partnered with them to care for our community, which is significant. My favorite example of that has to do with a relationship that we have with the local child welfare office. The caseworkers let us come in once a month to deliver our care packages and to pray for them. And so we've been able to lock arms with child welfare and caring for foster families in our city and caring for the caseworkers themselves. And we have a few opportunities every week to care for people who are going through their system and to love on our neighbors who are experiencing enough trouble to be dependent on the child welfare system for one reason or another. One cool thing we've gotten to do, we've hosted a prayer gathering with the entire child welfare department, including all HR and the finance team and everybody in that area of government was invited by their own in-house leadership to our prayer gathering where we could pray over them. Now, that's a big deal because, this isn't some small town in the Bible Belt. This is a government institution in a big city that's 96% lost and is usually very hostile to the gospel. This year, we've seen our first baptisms in the history of our church, with 8 going under the water in 2 separate events so far. We've added at least as many new members to our church, which is significant for a small church plant like ours because each new member is a person who's actively investing their time and tithe into the success of this church family's mission. And so we're seeing victories all over the place as God's providing and using us. But we still got a long, hard road ahead of us before we're stable and established. For example, God's called us to rent this office space where we worship in. We were able to convert an office space into our little old sanctuary. We did that on a leap of faith because based on our projected tithe income, the location is about 3 times more than we can afford. But we've always been able to afford it as a result of subleasing to other churches so that they can be blessed by the space and we can afford what God has called us to. And that's worked out pretty good until this year. We've seen one of those churches close their doors permanently due to financial constraints, and others decide not to renew their lease, and new prospects are not being discovered because people are afraid to make a new lease commitment during this COVID season. And we're usually used to seeing a lot of interest. We've lost the income we were very dependent on, but that's been cool in the end because it's just made room for God to do more miracles and really affirm that He has established this church. Here's what I mean. We've received a number of various one-time gifts that were sizable enough to cover our lost income almost every single month so far. So we've seen these gifts that we were not counting on, that we were not planning for, come in, and we probably won't see those again, but they've covered our expense budget every single month so far almost. And when we started this budget season this year, I knew we were moving forward with some faith that God was going to provide where we were stretched, but I had no idea just how miraculous every rent payment was going to be. And God has showed up and He's provided, and every time He did, He affirmed to us that we were right where He wanted us and that we were doing what He wanted us to do and that He wasn't done with us yet. While other churches that we know have closed their doors, and other churches that we know have been operating at about, on average, 35% of their attendance capacity, we're still tracking growth. And that is probably going to result in expansion by the end of our lease in 2021. It seems to me that God is really just getting started here. And so we've seen God grow our servant team. We've seen Him provide us with new leadership prospects that we can empower and develop. And He's sustaining us financially against incredible odds. But we still got a long way to go before we have a servant team without all the holes in it like ours has, and a leadership team of people who can handle high-level responsibility and the financial stability that we need to reduce our dependency on our partners. And so we're excited to share some of these victories with you, and we're asking for you to keep us in your prayers. And I hope to see you all soon. And I thank you again. Hope you have a great rest of your day.